Jets quarterback Zach Wilson. It's been 7 weeks since you saw last saw action.
My dog, let's get it.
Well-deserved congratulations. But you were moving around out there like you hadn't skipped a beat. Take me through that last drive where you went 5 for 5 for 65 yards and what it means to you.
Yeah, it was a cool situation.
Yes, sir, baby.
It was a situation just because, as a team and for me personally, I haven't been in many of those. So, mentally you got to focus in, you got to lock in. And I think all the guys up front, the receivers, they wanted that moment. And so that was such cool execution by everybody all the way around the board to put something together right there and score. It was awesome.
Your defense also came through, especially up front, adding pressure on the D-line, 3 interceptions, especially with the Steelers trying to make a comeback. How clutch were they?
Yeah, huge. Our defense balled out all day. It was an ugly game. We kind of said that from the first half, but how can we keep ourselves in it, keep fighting, keep chipping away? And those guys did a great job all the way down the stretch. And, what an awesome team win.
This is a young team, a talented team. On deck, you have the Miami Dolphins. What are you anticipating from that matchup?
Yeah, they're a great team. We've seen all the exotic looks that they bring. We're going to watch film. But they've done a great job this year. It's how can we rebound, get ready for Wednesday, and prep on those guys.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So the New York Jets are 2-2. The Steelers game was insane. I think it's safe to say that having Zach Wilson back there was an intricate part of us winning that game. Now, a lot of people are going to go ahead and say Zach Wilson didn't play that well. They're going to look at the stat line and say Zach Wilson didn't do that good. But in all actuality, when you go ahead and peel back the onion, i.e. watch the actual game, you realize a very, very important stat line. That stat line is this. Zach Wilson started off the game strong. In the middle of the game, second and third quarters, we saw a little bit of, I guess you can say, friction. In the fourth quarter, Zach Wilson balled out, almost went flawless. In terms of his comfort zone, the game got rhythmic. He knew he had to go ahead and lead this team to a victory, and he did exactly that. Zach Wilson was damn near flawless in the fourth quarter. Flawless. Now, you got to ask yourself, are we going to see the Zach Wilson that was in the second and third quarter against Miami? Or are we going to see the Zach Wilson of the fourth quarter become the new norm? A lot of things to talk about. Let's talk about these predictions for this week's game against the Miami Dolphins. Man, big implications here. I'm excited. You should be too. Let's go.
I can do it all, I will never fall off the Renaissance. You know that I got the mother sauce, man. You know I'm the boss, I know what it costs. Have you what a loss? I'm so versatile, yeah, I'm a Renaissance, man. I can do it all, I will never fall off the Renaissance. You know that I got the mother sauce, man. You know I'm the boss, I know what it costs. Have you what a loss? I'm so versatile, yeah, I'm a Renaissance, man.
Congratulations, brother.
And here we... Okay, so we're playing the Miami Dolphins this week. And Zach Wilson is dealing with a mild ankle injury. Dwayne Brown has officially been activated off of the IR. He practiced as well today. There's a lot of things to kind of like that go into this game, right? Early on in the offseason, our coach Saleh, had to say this. He said this.
Story. We always talk about when you're writing the story of your own life, never allow another man to hold the pen. Period. We have a gap to close. And here's the real stat for you. We've got 12 consecutive division game losses. We've been outscored by our opponent 358 to 158. That's 16.6 per game. We have a gap to close. All right, showing up is a first step. Showing up is a first step, guys. How we grow and how we close that gap is going to depend on every person in this room, including me, myself. You guys feel me on that? That's real. 12 losses. That ain't for that ends this year.
So I ask, in this particular case, this is our first game in the AFC East, the narrative has to start changing now. When writing your own story, you don't give the pen to another man. I don't think the Jets should give the Miami Dolphins the pen to write our story. And here's why. Unfortunately, Tua was injured. He won't be available for this game, right? Hopefully he gets better and like he's able to go ahead and we can meet up with him week 18. I really want to go ahead and face this Dolphins team at full strength. but Tua's out of the game. Their secondary right now has taken a couple of hits. We're still waiting on the final results, but nonetheless, we might be going up against their second and second string guys. Now, the Miami Dolphins run a lot of cover zero. They run a very high man-to-man coverage scheme at a cyclic rate. Actually, they are number one in the league in terms of that man-to-man coverage. If not number one, they're in that top three. I know against the Baltimore Ravens, they ran that bad boy 75% of the defensive snaps, which is insane. But I bring that up because, in case you guys weren't aware, we have a wide receiver on the New York Jets that's number one in the entire NFL at creating separation and man-to-man coverage. In fact, on 54% of his routes, he gets open in man-to-man coverage. We have Garrett Wilson. Now, you would say, okay, well, that's one person in man-to-man coverage. I got you. Our boy Elijah Moore is not too far behind him at eighth with 47% in terms of getting open in man-to-man coverage. If you go down the list a little bit, you see freaking Corey Davis, and you also see Tyler Conklin in that top 25. Nonetheless, there's actual weapons here right now that can create separation in man-to-man coverage. So, what does this mean? The Miami Dolphins are going to rely very heavily on that cover zero blitz to get to the quarterback, create, some pressure. Hopefully, kind of gearing Zach Wilson into throwing interceptions or throwing the ball away. Our offensive line, as suspect as it is, we know with Zach Wilson back there, he can go ahead and move around. He can go ahead and create opportunity. I think we're in a great position right now to lead or to have them come into our house on Sunday and for us to leave with a victory and start off literally for the first time in God knows how long at 3-2. And God willing, the Pittsburgh Steelers are really upset about that loss we gave them last week. They find a way to beat the Buffalo Bills. Now, that's a reach. I'm not saying that's possible. I'm saying it's a reach. But you better believe I'm rooting for the Pittsburgh Steelers to beat the Buffalo Bills on Sunday. Because if that happens, if we beat the Jets, the Steelers beat the Buffalo Bills, the New York Jets, for the first time in almost a decade, will literally be first in the AFC East. I cannot begin to express to you how going into the month of October invaluable that is. It does a couple of things. One, it lets us know as a fan base that the division is in fact going in the right direction. And that's invaluable. It also allows us the opportunity to gain momentum as we go into a stretch of, I believe, winnable games against individual opponents that were supposed to be playoff favorites that are starting to show a little bit of crack in their game plan and their ability to perform and their ability to win games. That's a benefit that we can hold to our advantage. So, what are the keys to winning this game on Sunday? Well, honestly, fourth quarter Zach Wilson needs to make an appearance. I think we need to see him for a minimum of 2 out of those 4 quarters. Now, I would love it if we saw him throughout an entire 4-quarter game, a full game. But if he can give us 2 quarters of fourth quarter Zach Wilson, I think it just might be enough to surprise the Miami Dolphins. Furthermore, we need to get our running game going. Now, granted, the matchups are very favorable in terms of our wide receivers, their cornerbacks, in terms of that man-to-man cover we just talked about, those guys being able to get open and separate. Zach Wilson, I think, should feast on those man-to-man freaking coverages. But the running game is also a tool that we can go ahead and benefit. In this cover zero scheme, there's a lot of blitzing, which means those screen passes are there, right? Those quick out routes to your running back, maybe even your tight end, Conklin. And that in itself is something that we need to consider when it comes to this particular game. Getting the running game involved could potentially offer Zach Wilson an opportunity to take advantage of 2 stud weapons in Breece Hall and Michael Carter, right? Tyler Conklin was brought in to go ahead and be that receiving tight end we haven't had in quite some time. And thus far, he's delivered. Granted, couple of drops, couple of fumbles, very uncharacteristic of Tyler Conklin. And I think he's only going to keep getting better as the season progresses. So, there's too many options for this Jets offense to go ahead and get a win, right? What does the defense have to do? Well, Tua's not playing this game. I think Teddy Bridgewater offers a bit of a higher dynamic in terms of arm strength and veteran presence, right? He's seen some things before. That is a benefit. He's kind of an unknown. With Tua, I felt more comfortable because we kind of know what Tua is. And if you take away a lot of the scoring that the Miami Dolphins have done this year, um, either in the fourth quarter in the Baltimore Ravens game or in terms of takeaways, the offense is pretty stagnant, even though they've had a couple of big plays with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. A lot of their scoring has come off of turnovers. A lot of the scoring has come off of that fourth quarter run against the Baltimore Ravens. And I wasn't even really aware of that until it was brought to my attention recently. So, with that said, our defense had a coming out party this past week. And you know what? This brings me to my very next point. I was very adamant that LaMarcus Joyner was going to be a liability, that he was a bum, that he should be cut from the team. So, in homage of Coach Saleh taking receipts, I'm a man up. I'm going to eat my receipt. I'm going to eat it. No hot sauce, no salt, no pepper. I might wash it down with a beer. But I stated that LaMarcus Joyner was a liability on this defense. And instead, what he proved to be was an asset in that win against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, that is me eating this receipt because this week I was wrong. I very, 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 very much hope that LaMarcus Joyner continues to prove me wrong moving forward. With that said, that tastes horrible. Oh my god, that's okay. Ah, ate that receipt. Listen, LaMarcus Joyner balled out this past week. And in all actuality, I think if we can get the same kind of performance, even half of the performance that we got from LaMarcus Joyner last week against the Miami Dolphins, this game is a wrap. It's a wrap. Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed are right now both top 10 defensive backs in the NFL. Right now, I think Sauce Gardner is number 5 in passes defended. He's playing at an elite level. DJ Reed is playing at an elite level. And I go back to the fact that the Buffalo Jet fan made a very, very accurate assessment when he said, had DJ Reed been a couple of inches taller, there's no way the Jets could afford to bring him in because the price tag would just be too high. This dude plays much bigger than his size, and we're seeing it week in and week out over the last 4 weeks. We have a really good matchup right now in terms of those two guys facing up against Tyreek Hill and Waddle. Those are arguably two of the fastest wide receivers in the NFL. Both of them are in the top 10 in yards, wide receiving yards for the season. If those guys can slow those individuals down, I think the offense becomes stagnant. I think our defensive line performs the way they did against the Steelers and against the Baltimore Ravens. The running game gets impacted. And then the biggest question now becomes, how can we go ahead and slow down Gesicki? Again, if we're talking about Quan Alexander, who we know in the past was known for his coverage ability, right? His running, we have Quan. CJ Mosley has not looked really good in terms of coverage this year. In fact, he looks like he's lost a step or two. That's fine. But in terms of defensively, we match up well with this team offensively. And if we can go ahead and get those things in control, I just don't see how the Jets don't come out on top. They're at home, they're 3-point underdogs, and Zach Wilson is back. He showed us a lot in that fourth quarter. And if we can continue to see the progression of him knocking off the rust early, and that fourth quarter becomes the first quarter of this game, second quarter, maybe he slows down in the third, whatever. We can see another W at MetLife Stadium this Sunday. And that's an exciting thought process. So, in order for this to happen, I do believe when it comes to coaching, we're evenly matched. Although I'm very impressed with what Mike McDaniel has done thus far with the offense of the Miami Dolphins. He's literally schemed those guys to maximize their skill sets and minimize their weaknesses. I still believe that Coach Saleh knows him pretty well. We run the same offense. Our defense has seen this offense before. There's a lot of benefit on our side. Now, their defense, on the other hand, is not really geared to stop an offense like ours, where there's so many playmakers on each individual position group, especially at the wide receiver group, that can get open the way our guys can. there's a huge mismatch this week. Now, Dolphins fans will have you to believe that, it's going to be an easy game, walk in the park. But I'm predicting this, that if the New York Jets get this win on Sunday, the excuses from Dolphins fans will begin almost immediately. Keep your eye on Twitter. I'm calling it now. The Jets win this game on Sunday, and Twitter will have, well, first of all, Jets win this game on Sunday. We as Jets Nation are going to break Twitter with the assistance of the Dolphins fans, of course, boohooing and being upset and saying if they had Tua, they would have won the game. All of a sudden, all of the arrogance they've had throughout the entire week up until the game is a moot point, and it's because they didn't have Tua, they lost the game. I'm telling you, watch, it's going to happen. Even though we're playing with a patch up job for an O-line, they're gonna always they're gonna go ahead and say they didn't have to, and that's why they lost the game. It is what it is, but I'm already preparing you guys for it, so be ready for it. And this matchup should get you excited as a Jets fan. It should, because literally it gives us our first win in the division potentially. If the Pittsburgh Steelers shock the Buffalo Bills the way the Miami Dolphins did and get another W, we're number one in the AFC East. And when you get that kind of momentum, there's no telling, where that can take you, especially a young team like this who aren't accustomed to the losing traditions of the New York Jets in times past. This is a new regime who believe in what they bring to the table, how they can win games. You get a couple of wins here and there, the momentum starts rolling. We got our franchise quarterback. This is a really, really important year for him. We need to figure out whether or not he's the guy. There are so many good things that we have to go ahead and play for this Sunday. So many good things. So it brings me to this. What do I predict the game's going to look like? Well, I'm going to first caveat it with this. So game one, I really believe the New York Jets had enough talent and an edge to beat the Baltimore Ravens. Although our defense held strong for the first half of the game, it quickly turned sour. We lost the game. I predicted the Jets were going to win that game. We lost. I predicted the Jets were going to go ahead and lose to the Cleveland Browns. We won. Then I said, you know what? The Bengals are coming in. Worst offensive line in football. They're giving up all these sacks. Our defensive line is going to feast. I predicted the Jets were going to go ahead and beat the Bengals. We lost. The moment I predict the Jets were going to lose to the Steelers, we won. So, even though I just said everything that I just said, to do my part as a Jets fan, I'm going to predict a New York Jets loss this weekend. I am. I'm going to predict a final score of 24-21. The Miami Dolphins pull it off, and they win the game. As a Jets fan, maybe I'm superstitious, maybe I'm not. Who knows? But based off of the pattern that I've seen over the last 4 games, I'm going to keep it going. And I'm going to do my part as a Jets fanatic to go ahead and see what we can do to get a win in MetLife. With that said, I'm going to go ahead and put the graphic here, right? 24-21, the freaking Miami Dolphins beat the New York Jets by a field goal. But, the Jets can win if 3 things happen. We get special teams involved. I would like to see Braxton Berrios do something special this week. He's due for one. We haven't really seen much of him doing. We had the special aspect in Cleveland when we got the onside kick. I want to see Braxton Berrios do something special this week. Braxton Berrios goes off, either it's a great field position or even a score. That's going to give us a bit of an edge. The defense is able to go ahead and contain Tyreek Hill. Not both. Either Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle. If we can contain one of those guys and keep them under 50 yards receiving, no touchdowns, I'm going to predict that the Jets can swing in favor of that 24-21 win. And, or if Zach Wilson, fourth quarter Zach Wilson from the Steelers game shows up, we're seeing that 24-21 win prediction shift in the Jets' favor. That's it. That's it. Listen, nonetheless, it's October 5th. The New York Jets are 2-2. The majority of the pundits and so-called professional media individuals had us going 0-9, 1-8, whatever the case might be, which is kind of hard to do now when you've already won 2 games. They showed some real talent. We are not the worst team in the NFL. That in itself has been proven. The time management and the defense showing up on Sunday shows us that, okay, Coach Saleh kind of knew this was coming. It was just a matter of time for his guys to put it together. What I'm asking right now is for the defense, for the veterans to not do anything stupid this week that could potentially cost us in penalties. Thus far, the New York Jets veterans have cost us more in penalty yardage than any of our sophomore and or rookie class. That to me is kind of insane. It's a mark of a lack of discipline, and we need to fix that. So, without further ado, that's my prediction. It's getting late. I got work in the morning, so I'm about to go ahead and edit this video, put it on YouTube. Thank you for watching it. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Go Jets. And like I said before, the Miami Dolphins win this game on Sunday, 24-21. Unless, of course, the Jets hit one or more of the 3 wickets that could go ahead and pretty much change that to a Jets victory. Let's go. Till next time.
You ever caught a touchdown before?
I don't know. It's pretty cool though.
What were you thinking as that one's coming to you, as that ball's coming in?
Yeah, I was like, oh, well, I mean, first I handed and I see everyone flowing. I'm like, oh, thank goodness, I got the best hands on the team, so I got away.